I met a gypsy.
Number one.
Well, it's interesting that Adam was saying last night that from like the age that he was 9 years old, he was just one race away from failing and being shit. Even though he's won like more races than anyone else, he just said that he had this pressure from such a young age to just win and win and win. He said that he had no competition on the track, but he just had this inner competition with himself and perception.
Yeah.
So he couldn't lose, and he said that that came into his career. So I mean, people might see Adam as like he had it so easy because he was making good money as a kid. He had all the bikes. He was working out with Ryan. So people think that's easy, but do you think that's what made him be able to win his first race? Is just that pressure he's dealt with his whole life?
Yeah, I do believe that, because that's the thing. Is even when people say, hey, well, he had the bikes and he had the sponsors. Well, with that, those sponsors expect. No one gives you something and doesn't expect something back. So even with Adam, at an early age, and I got to give props to his parents and how, especially Alan, how he always put Adam in a good position somehow. He would force a way in, and even how I came involved with Adam and how Adam came to be riding with RV at such a young age. I think that's important for Adam, how he was thrown in there, but with that you're almost forced that you have to do well, and I think he knew that too. It's like you don't get these opportunities to be with that kind of echelon of riders and equipment, and even at such a young age to have the tracks that he could ride on and then not feel that, dude, if I don't perform with this, I don't have an excuse, I have to. And where a lot of other guys will use that as, I never had a bike, I never had this equipment, and I believe, well, where there's a will, there's a way, but that will has to be, huge. And obviously, yes, your support group fighting to make that happen. I mean, even with Adam, he's just starting off really what I feel in his career. I mean, he was a rookie last year, actually this year. So going into his second season coming, but what's expected and what is set around him and what he is giving up too, he's had to move out of the home. His parents have had to set him up, and that there's a lot of costs involved. And even with the group that he's in here, it's a tough group. It isn't easy to, obviously, your contribution to be in that group is not easy. But I think all those things make that fight a little bit more in the person, for sure.
Well, like he was saying that last night when he first moved here, you were doing your road cycles, and it wasn't like he could even, it wasn't like you give a shit about Adam because it was all about RV.
Yeah.
So he's off the back, and he said every day like he just had to pull up a little bit to where he could actually pull with the group. So like, is that kind of the fight? Do you think other kids would have maybe just said this is too hard?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, even I don't train a lot of guys. I have a core group. So when someone's in, you kind of have to fit in a way too. Otherwise, you'll fall out pretty quickly. And there is almost, in the past, there's always been one guy that has that, that it's kind of all around him. This is the first time that basically I've my facility where it's not run around, a high-end rider. But in the past, it's always been also, it's the high-end rider's place. RV had his own place, and people needed to fit in with him and his schedule, which is what's expected, and that's not a bad thing. But with that, and going back to Adam in the early parts, there was no such thing as, well, buddy, we'll baby you along. It's, sink or swim. And I think that was good for him, because if you, as an amateur, want to know, like at that high-level professional, what it's going to be like, and you've only got a few opportunities to make it work and to make it happen, and you better get used to that. So I think with the case with Adam, that I think it gave him a new understanding of kind of where he thought he was, because he is talented. And to me, his amateur career, we all knew he won pretty much everything. And sometimes I worried about that, because when they do that, then they think that that's the way it's going to always go, and you lose sight of like, gosh, in order to be there, there's a big gap. So jumping on the program at an early age, I was a little skeptical about taking on someone that early, and also I kind of like it when a guy almost hits rock bottom, then he wants to listen more, he's more motivated and all the rest. But it was good with Adam because he came in, got a taste of the level, and in a way it did motivate him to like, well, geez, I'm not as good as what I think I am, and how much more I've got to be in order to be at that level.
So then I guess Adam's like a really good example of this. Like he's like literally a prodigy. So like you get kids that play violin at 9 and they're doing Mozart, and at 9 Adam was scrubbing a dirt bike.
Yeah.
That like literally no one else in the planet could do that. So what's the combination of things that went right with Adam Cincerello to where he is this prodigy child? Like, how many things have to fall in line to where it's almost just like a fluke?
I think it's almost like a fluke, because if you think of it at that age too, I mean, before I even ever knew Adam, I remember seeing a picture of him on, I don't even know what size bike, but it's ridiculously small, and he's sky high in the air jumping some jump that a normal person would, or a normal rider on a bigger bike would think twice about. So you got to go back and look, okay, what is his mindset that didn't even fear, there was nothing, he just felt it at ease, or he was challenged enough and confident enough that he thought, wow, I can do that. So I do believe that those things do fall in line, because at any one point in time too, if that had gone wrong, confidence, injuries, all of that are the demise of an athlete. So yeah, I think that all the stars aligned at the time to create where obviously he started to feel this ability that was separating him from the others. And the good thing about that too is then the confidence kicks in and it just escalates. Like I said, once a guy wins once, the second time to win is easy. To win the first time, though, that's the hardest. But then there's the next challenge of, that's winning. Then there's the championship, which once a guy pieces that together, then I always find the second one is a little easier than. But it's getting those milestones, and I do believe that's all to do with that whole confident, that belief that, oh, I've done it, so I know I can do it. And actually believing. Because I can tell myself, well, I can, go and ride a dirt bike and do that jump, but in the back of my head, I can do that, but I don't really believe that I can do it safely, or I'm gonna probably bugger it up, So there's things there that, what you think and what you firmly believe is a big part of.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.